Hello, Sarah, Paulina, Misty, Sherry, Liz, Karina, Lisa, Jessica, Jill, Vanessa, Brianna, Cami, Jennifer, Amy, Mary, Stacy, Yvette, Chloe, and Nikita. Thank you for an excellent week of discussion and interaction. I want to thank each of you for the effort and time that you put in to our conversation online. I could spend a lot of time. I could spend half an hour going through each of your contributions and expressing some gratitude. So thank you for everything that you did. Want to hit a couple of highlights. I want to say to Sarah and Liz, thank you for sharing about those situations where you were with loved ones who had to make some decisions around end of life care. Those decisions in those situations are always heartrending, very difficult, very challenging. And the best that we can do, I think, is to honor and respect the desires of the person who is ill, the person who's dying, and care for them in the way that they would want to be cared for, and respect their right, for lack of a better word, their right to say no more treatment. That's enough, and it's time for me to go. Very difficult, very, very sad. In fact, I was just in the hospital yesterday with a friend who is suffering from liver cancer, and she doesn't have long to live. And having some of these conversations about end of life care, it's always very sad. But we can continue to care for the people that we love and respect who they are and respect what they want. Amy, I wanted to say thank you for that story that you told about the food dropping on the floor when you were a waitress, when you were a teenager. That story teaches us a lot. I think there are many times where we're in a place where we feel like we don't have power to speak up against something that's unethical, and sometimes we don't. And so the question becomes, what do we do with that? And you gave us an awesome example of self-reflection and learning from the incident and coming to a place where you're more confident in your own voice and in your own ability to challenge something that's wrong in a workplace or in the world. And you can't ask for more than that. It shows us that we are going to make mistakes. We are sometimes going to not speak up when we should have spoken up. Sometimes we're going to speak up when we shouldn't have spoken up. But to be self-reflective and self-aware and be able to learn from those situations is key to our moral development. Karina and Jennifer, I want to say thank you for the examples that both of you gave from your workplaces. The examples that show us that it is challenging. It's always very challenging to act with integrity, but it is possible. It's hard work. We meet resistance often, but it is possible to act with integrity. So thank you for those examples. We had a great discussion about whether it's okay to lie to your kids about Santa, whether that even is a lie to tell your kids about Santa. I think that it's a fascinating question to say, when is it okay to lie? And that article that was pointed out, where the philosopher Keira Thompson was quoted, it's fascinating that she thinks it's okay to lie to your kids for a consequentialist reason. So it's okay to lie to your kids to prevent the kid from having a tantrum by saying, no, I don't have money to buy ice cream now, even when you do have money. But it's a bad thing to lie to your kid about Santa. Fascinating. Because I think really that kind of lie, I don't have money to buy ice cream, is at least as dangerous as the lie about Santa. It goes down a road of teaching kids that it's okay to lie so that I don't have to be uncomfortable, so that I don't have to deal with consequences. Very dangerous, I would say. The platinum rule, the golden rule, the silver rule, all kinds of rules. One thing that I would say about this is that none of these rules is above being corrupted by poor interpretation. Not even the platinum rule. I know you pushed back on the idea that the platinum rule, Jill, is about giving people what they want, but I think it's quite possible for somebody to read it that way when the rule is treat other people as they want to be treated. It's very easy to read that as I should treat somebody and meet what they want from me. That's the ethical thing to do, even if what they want is something that I don't think is ethically responsible. Just like with the golden rule, it can be corrupted into I'm going to do for you what I like, what I think is good, and totally disregard what you think is good. That's really not the point of the golden rule, but as you pointed out, it has been interpreted that way. So maybe the safest rule is the silver rule. Do not do unto others what you find hateful to be done unto you. In the Babylonian Talmud and in Confucius, so some very, very old sources, because most of us don't like a lot of the same things. No, we don't like to be lied to. We don't like to have things stolen from us. We don't like to be hit, and so maybe that's a reasonable place to start. And also a great conversation about the difference between being on time in our professional lives and being on time in our personal lives. And that was a very interesting conversation because I think behind that conversation is one of the things that that underlies a lot of morals and ethics, and that is cultural context. So if we were in Uganda and we said, okay, we're going to meet at the coffee shop at noon, and any of us were operating under the assumption that that meant that we were actually going to all show up together at noon, you would not be a happy person, because as it was explained to me when I was in Uganda 10 years ago, the idea that we'll meet at the coffee shop at noon means that I will think about leaving my house at noon to go to the coffee shop. There's a totally different conception of time in that culture. And so there's a totally different conception of lateness in that culture. And I think this is one of those cases where we need to know what the context is. In an American context, in an American business context, as some of you pointed out, it's crucial to be on time. If we're going to have a meeting at 12 o'clock, it means 12 o'clock, not 12:01, not 12:10, 12 o'clock, because we're all busy. We all have stuff to do. We all have other deadlines to meet. But in other cultures, that may or may not be true. And that's one of the challenges that we have in dealing with with businesses internationally, as many of you know from the Effective Communications for the Workplace class. So I guess two of the takeaways from this week's discussion is, as we deal with these ethical situations, as we think about ethics and how those rules of our profession or the rules of our workplace impact us, what can we learn? What can we learn about the principles that underlie these different codes of conduct? And can we challenge them when we see them going astray or not serving us and other people well? It points out that one of the most important parts of acting ethically or acting morally is courage. As the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle said, courage is the virtue that makes all the other virtues possible. If we don't have the courage to be honest in a hard situation, we won't be honest. If we don't have the courage to challenge bad behavior in a situation where we see bad behavior, we won't challenge it. So courage is a virtue that's worth developing, and it's a virtue that I see expressed in our discussions, and I see expressed in all of you. So thank you again for a good first week, and I'm sorry this is a little bit long. I'll try to make it shorter next time. If there's any way that I can be helpful, please let me know. You're free to contact me through Canvas, by email, by text, or by voice over the phone. Have a great week.